Let's take a look at problem number 49. 49 just asks us a series of true or false questions. The first one is true or false, the derivative of 10 to the fifth is 5 times 10 to the fourth. Okay, so this is a question that's trying to trick you by seeing if you really understand the power rule or not. The power rule only works if you've got x to a power, not 10 to a power. 10 to a power is just a number. 10 to the fifth is just a big number, and the derivative of some constant is 0. So the derivative of this constant is 0. Certainly not 5 times 10 to the fourth. So this is false. Okay, because the derivative of a constant is 0. Part B, the slope of the tangent line to f of x equals e to the x is never 0. So first, I guess I need to ask the question, what is the slope of, what is the derivative of f of x equals e to the x? And we know that the derivative of f of x equals e to the x is f prime of x equals e to the x. And the question is, can this ever be 0? So if I plug in a positive number, e to a positive number is quite big. E to the 0th power is 1. And e to a negative power is a small number, but it's still positive. So could I ever make it 0? Even if I plug in a negative number, it's positive. If I plug in 0, it's positive. And if I plug in a positive number, it's positive. So it's always positive no matter what I do. So it is, in fact, never 0. That's true. Here we have that the derivative of e cubed should be equal to e cubed. And this is just the same trick from part A played on you all over again. E is a constant. E cubed is a constant. And the derivative of a constant is always 0. So this would be 0, not e cubed. So this is false. Okay? So we've got false, true, false. Let's look at the next one. The derivative of e to the x is x e to the x minus 1. Again, trying to play off of your knowledge of the power rule, but this is not the right form to use the power rule. You only can use the power rule if you've got a function that looks like x to the nth power. This is e to the x power, so we don't use the power rule. This is saying, yeah, just go ahead and use the power rule. Pull the x down and subtract 1 from the x. You can't use the power rule here. It's not the form of the power rule. The derivative of e to the x is, we know from up here, e to the x. So this is false. And finally, this says that if I take the nth derivative of this polynomial, then I get 0 as long as I've taken at least 3 derivatives. So what's the first derivative of this thing? I suppose the first derivative would be 15. This is, I'll call it f prime of x, would be 15x squared plus 2. The second derivative is 30x. The third derivative is equal to 30. Now wait a second. This says that for any integer bigger than or equal to 3, the third derivative then would have to be 0. But the third derivative is 30. Now what's the fourth derivative? The fourth derivative is 0. And the fifth derivative is 0. And the sixth derivative is 0. But this says that it has to be 0 for 3 and above. But it's not 0 for 3. So this is false. And so we have our answers for number 49.